All right. Welcome, y'all, to the Champion Secrets podcast, where I interview high performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, and humans who I consider champions so that we all can consider and become champions in our own way: mind, body, spirit, finances. And so I wanted to welcome a buddy of mine, Greg Jeffries, to the show. He's an incredible human being. I know he's gone through a lot of journeys over the last couple of years, and a really high level entrepreneur and just an incredible human being. I'm just excited to have him here.
Thanks for inviting me on your show, man.
Absolutely, brother. Well, I'd like to start off. I know we were chatting a little bit in the beginning of a little bit of your backstory. I know you're kind of from the South a little bit and kind of made your way here, but take us into kind of maybe before you got into your entrepreneurship journey. Who's Greg Jeffries prior to, and what was that pain that you kind of brought you to that, entrepreneur journey? And we'll start there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm from Mississippi, a small town of like, I think it's still less than 30,000 people, and it's called Starkville. It's the rest of the country knows it as the home of Mississippi State University. That's about it. But it's a pretty small town, but had a great childhood. Mom and dad still together, great friends, and just yeah, a really good, strong nucleus growing up. And before I got into all the entrepreneurial stuff, I was more, I guess, creative, artistic and stuff, or at least that's what I gravitated towards. So that's what everybody labeled me as. So they were just like, "You're an artist." And I was like, well, I feel like I'm like the only person in class that's drawing. So I guess I'll be an artist. Um, so I think from an early age that like I didn't I don't know. I think, one of these childhood, I guess you call it like childhood traumas or little boy, little girl things that you carry with you throughout your life. I guess I've never really believed so much in my ability, but strangely enough, like I know a lot of people have the opposite of this and they have to overcome that. Everyone else in my world has always believed in me. Everyone.
Mm,
So, and it's not that I was like beating myself up. It was just like I couldn't see what they saw in me because to me,
mm,
my skills were just average. Because I would compare them to people that were a little bit better at art than me, and they're like, "Well, you're
mm-hmm.
really good." I'm like, "I don't know," but anyway. So I had a really great art teacher in high school. We won a lot of awards because I'm not being bragging or cocky or whatever. We had the best art program in the state, which is interesting coming from a small town in Mississippi at a
Yeah.
public school. So we had the best art program in the whole state. We won pretty much all the awards of all the other schools in the state would we compete against. So it was very competitive because we were all so good, but we didn't really know how good we were because we um, we everybody was good. So like that was good. Being great was normal
Mm,
in that environment. So I didn't really understand how good we were and I guess how good of a teacher we had until we'd go to these competitions and until like literally all of us that were in this program and had more than one or two classes, whether it be like drawing one, drawing two, painting, photography, we all got scholarships to prestigious colleges. So like this was common. And so yeah, that was the kind of my upbringing. But I always had a lot of ideas for like businesses and brands and stuff. I didn't really know what to do with that because people were like, "Well, you're creative, you should be an artist." And then there's other people that say like, "Well, if you're an artist, there's starving artists. Is the good luck making a living."
yes.
So I'm just weighing all this information, and I did wind up going to art college, but I really just finished because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I saw college as kind of a little purgatory holding tank between high school and life because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought based on my environment that if I went into the workforce, that's seen as failure. I didn't see myself being in the military, even though I knew that was an option. I was like, I don't really, not that I'm not willing to serve my country, but I don't see that as my path. And so the only other option was like college, just kind of like, because hey, everybody gives you a couple extra years if you're in college,
Yep.
figure it out. So I graduated there And afterwards, I graduated in 2009, and then still didn't know what I wanted to do because I wasn't working towards anything. I worked towards the goal of the awards and stuff like that. It wasn't becoming a better person along the way. I don't know what goes on in other people's minds, but I was just, you know,
That's the way
achieving
it
the things
works.
that I was told to achieve. So I got A's and B's in schools. I didn't have perfect attendance because every once in a while I would get sick, but like whatever. A's and B's, honor roll, won art awards. I'm an Eagle Scout. So it's like I did all these things, but it was really just like following these checklists. It wasn't like becoming a better person, becoming a good artist. It was just like I can complete all the assignments for the teacher, so I get the A, so I get the diploma. And
Mm-hmm.
so I finished. I moved back home to Starkville for about a year. Um, had like two or three different part-time jobs. Again, just to seem like I'm not a failure, just I don't know, I still know what I want to do,
Yeah.
but like if I don't have a job, then I'm just like one of those people that went to college and now I'm living it back home
Mm-hmm.
with my parents. Like I didn't know how to do life, even though again I had good examples, but I didn't know the questions to ask and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really know how to grow up, I guess, and still kind of struggling with that a little bit probably today. And perhaps, that may have had something to do with how I was raised because my parents did um, do so much for us. So maybe, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Maybe they created such a loving, carefree environment for me and my brother that like we didn't mess up that much, but when we did they took care of it. Everything was okay, like, and we weren't crazy or anything. So they again, I didn't realize how rare this was, I guess, until I get out in life and start talking to people and they're like, wow, that wasn't my childhood. And like, oh, you didn't have parents home every night for meals. And like, yeah, my parents both worked, but like they sacrificed everything so that me and my brother could have something. So there was a trade-off there. And I don't think that happens in a lot of other homes and stuff. And so a lot of these grown-up conversations, apparently they got discussed, but me and my brother never saw that. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I know this is kind of going off of a tangent,
That's great.
but while I was at one of those three jobs in 2009, one of the girls that was working there, she was graduating from Mississippi State in art, and she her graphic design or something. She's I said, "Where are you going to do when you get done?" And she said, "Oh, I'm moving to Austin." And I'm like, "Do you have a job?" And she said, "No, but I interned there last summer and it was awesome. So I'm just gonna like wing it and like I'll just go out there and figure it out." And I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty ballsy." I think, especially for a female, or whatever,
Yeah.
like young female, doesn't have a job, but like loves Austin,
Mm.
just gonna move there and roll the dice. And so I was like, "Well, I'm kind of young, so like I don't really have anything going here for me in Starkville, so." I will do the same thing. So, and I did have an uncle that lives out here and an
Yeah.
aunt. So there was some family, but I'd never been out here to visit ever
Mm-hmm.
myself. So I came to visit that summer. And then I was like, yeah, my genius plan was like I saved up enough money, or what I thought would be enough money for 3 months rent, like a 3-month lease, like one of the shortest term leases you could possibly get.
Yeah.
And
Short
I
commitment.
didn't, yeah, and I didn't have a job. And I was like, 90 days, that's a good try, right? Like I'll just pack up the car that was my parents. I'll load it up. No apartment, no job. I'll just come stay with my aunt and uncle and I'll just like get a job. So that was the plan. And then within like, I don't know how long it was, but probably within a week or so, my uncle was like, so what sort of interviews do you have lined up? And I was like, none. I was just going to figure it out when I got out here. Cause like another thing was, since we're from a small town, we didn't have high-speed internet. We didn't even have internet in my home. So
Wow.
I had to go to like Starbucks or something, or we didn't even have Starbucks, but somewhere that had Wi-Fi.
Internet. Yeah. Anywhere.
I
Yeah.
did have,
Nowadays it's
yeah,
everywhere, but then yeah,
yeah,
no, not at all.
I did have a laptop. And so I just, I was super naive and probably it's a stupid plan, But looking back, since it worked out, people were like, "Whoa, you're really smart and ballsy." No, this is a really stupid plan, I guess. But when I think that naiveness is helpful when
I
you're
think so.
young and starting anything like that, because the people that have more experience, since they have experience, they have, I think, fear and stuff. And I
Mm,
had that because I'd never done it. I'm young. Oh my, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go back home and, like, I don't know, get a job at Mississippi State because that's where my mom works, and like whatever. It'll be,
mm,
I'll live an average life. But yeah, within the first couple of weeks of being out here, I got a job, and kind of the rest is history. It wasn't pretty, and I don't remember like all the details, but it was a lot of job hopping between different contract and freelance jobs. And like from the moment I got out here, I don't remember exactly what I searched for, but it happened really quick, where I was just Googling on nights and weekends, trying to figure out how to make money online, just the typical how to make money online. But this was
mm,
fall of 2010. And so the world was not as connected as it is today. Like, a lot has happened in a very short amount of time. And somehow I just fumbled my way through the mess of, all the things to sift through. There's so many. I don't like to use the word scam very much, because there really aren't as many out there in my experience as people make it seem like.
for sure.
But there's a lot of information to sort and sift through to before you find a thing that works for you. And
Hmm.
so, like, and I say that lightly about scamming, because like all the people who have scammed me or whatever, like, I've usually learned something from those experiences. I've gotten some resource or some piece of information, so I don't consider it a huge, a total loss.
Hmm.
But that's, I don't know if it's you being when you're younger, time seems expands, but like looking back from the fall of 2010 to like my last job, I started it in the summer of 2013. So that was only like 3 years, and a lot happened. A lot of failure happened during that time. So I tested a lot of stuff. And I was barely getting by, but that's where I learned about like credit cards and stuff, because I never made much enough at a job to really have much extra in
Hmm.
them. And I'll just going back to when I first came to Austin, my number one expense that was like my gotta have it was internet. I've never owned a TV until like recently. I just pay this service that comes in and stages your whole home to
Oh,
save money.
nice. Yeah.
But
You don't have to think about it.
yeah, this is my first time ever in my whole adult life, and this is 14 years later that I have a TV, because I didn't want any distractions, because I don't play video games. I only wanted to focus on making money. All I needed was a laptop, which I had, and an internet connection. So as long as I had high speed internet, I was like, I can figure this out. I can, so that was my goal. And the problem back then though was I had a lot of time, didn't have much money, had a lot of time though, but didn't know what to focus it on. That was and I remember sitting nights, especially on weekends and Friday nights, I'd be sitting in my computer like, man, I'm not unwilling to do the work. I just don't know what to do. And it's really frustrating because, the common whatever theme is like, oh, people are lazy. I'm like, I'm not lazy. I'm willing to work. I just wish somebody would tell me what to do.
Mm,
And so I would just, just kind of doing the best I can to figure out, sift through all this information. But I'll give your audience a tip that when I finally got the courage to go to my first live event in 2016, I kind of made up for lost time. So I went to one, two, three, four events that year.
wow.
And on the
All
second,
in. Yeah.
yeah, like, and because again, we haven't gotten to this part yet, but we were talking about this before we hit record. All this whole money game and life and stuff, it's all mental, and below that is like, when you go real deep, it's like spiritual. So it's like spiritual, mental, emotional, and then got the physical or whatever, or money and all that stuff. But the reason why you don't have those things in the external is because your internal is all jacked up. And so the lie that I was telling myself about live events were like, it's too expensive. I can't get off of work. How would I afford this? It's going to be a bunch of weirdos. I'm not on their level. I'm not making any money. So they're going to make it seem like I'm a loser and they're rich. All these things. When I went there, none of this is true, or not to the extent that I was beating myself up about.
Mm-hmm.
And where I was going with this is the second live event I went to. I met a guy who they have a very successful offer now. It's been running for 7 years, and they've made, I think, over $50 million. He didn't have it yet at that offer, but I knew he had achieved more success than me in a lot shorter amount of time. And I was like, how did you do it? Because I feel like we started about the same time, but you're way up here and I'm still trying to figure it out, which I had some breakthroughs at that event. Just being able to meet people that I was trying to do what they were doing, and they were successfully doing it, and they were the same age as me. And I was like, man, they're clearly not much smarter than me. They're confident in the little bit that they do know. They don't care
Mm-hmm.
that they don't know the other 90%. They're just taking action on the 10% that they do know. And they're just like, oh, this is all I know. And then they just
Mm-hmm.
repeat. And I was like, yeah, but what about all these 80% of things? They're like, I don't, I don't know about those. And they don't care. And
Yeah.
because they're good results. So I was like, wow, a lot of breakthroughs. But this guy in particular, he said, what tips do you have for you know, for me to get to where you are faster? And he said, number one, the first thing I started doing, like early on, like from the beginning, go to live events, which is the thing I was avoiding. And I can break down why that's so important. He said, go to live events and then like meet your mentors at these live events, or people that you should be talking to. The mentors may not be there, but get referrals at the live events. So
Mm-hmm.
why are live events so important? Here's how I simplify it. If you think about what it takes to get to a live event, it doesn't matter if the person is rich or that's their last dime or dollar or whatever. They have to make a lot of sacrifices in order to be in that room or to be in that area.
Exactly
They,
right.
both financially, time wise, they have to take off work, they have to make arrangements to be there. And so the caliber of people that are going to show up to a live event, whether they are crushing it or they're just trying to figure out how to crush it, is way higher than what you're going to find, just through a Zoom call or through a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook chat. I'm not saying those aren't high quality people. I'm just saying the caliber of people that are going to take time out of their day and financially make that sacrifice to hop on a plane or drive to a different state says something about that kind of person. So I've never got a I've never not gotten a positive ROI on a live event ever. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
if it's a small mastermind of 5 people or a huge event of 3,000 people. I've never gone to a live event and not gotten a positive ROI. So um, and feel free to chime in or stop me or ask any
Yeah.
questions at this
No,
point.
that's
But
great. Your childhood sounds amazing. And just that journey of being so focused, getting rid of all the distractions and being on that laptop, having your internet, but like not having, like you said, you feel like you were not finding the right things. You were like willing and you were putting in the work, but you just didn't know the things to do to get you the result that you wanted. But it
yeah,
sounds like getting in that like real, like, I guess we could call them champions too. Those people that go to events that actually like take it seriously, that are willing to actually invest in themselves, whether they have kids or a family, to be like, all right, I need to take care of this. I really need to go to this because I know this is going to get me XY result, or I'm going to get, whatever you're going to get out of it. But I agree. Any experience I've had, because I think as entrepreneurs, it's very easy to be in our bubble and just be here and not be in person, and like really challenging and encouraging everyone else. And I like how you said, like, these people that you're meeting were like almost saying like putting blinders on to the 70% that a lot of us focus on, which is like not even, well, there's no reason.
Of why you think that you can't get those results. And it turns out they're not even doing those things.
Yes, exactly. They've said, see you later. They're zoned in on this 10% and they're getting that result. You're like, what the heck? Like I'm doing all these things and I have this whole 100% that I'm focused on. And they're only doing this, but it's like, cause
Yeah,
they're all in
I
on
don't,
that.
yeah, I don't have business cards yet for my online business. Neither does anybody else.
Exactly.
Or do they care?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many different things. And yeah, and just you triggered something when you were talking of like, you know, that I want to point out to people if they didn't catch it, like, which I didn't know I was doing at this time, but I had to remove myself from my current environment, which was Starkville, Mississippi, which is itty bitty, small-minded thinking, great upbringing, but just I don't think I would have been able to grow, expand my mind in a small environment. And so now when I come back to Starkville, which is, you know, a population in Austin's like 1 million plus or something, I see how small that environment is.
Mm,
So I guess growing up, I was like a big fish in a small pond. I didn't realize it yet. So out here, there's room for me to grow and expand. And
mm,
so it was an act of removing myself from that environment, putting myself in a new and different environment that's also filled with opportunities. It's not just like I'm moving to Detroit or I don't know, to a small town or a place with no opportunity where
mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's much opportunity in Detroit, but anyway, there's whatever, some stories in the last couple of years is like is horrible and economic situations up there. But so it's not just it's a place with more opportunity as well. And then I also basically isolated, which that's good and bad. But you know, I wasn't going out. It didn't really because I didn't really have friends and stuff. So
Yeah.
I had my job and then I come home and just dedicated nights and weekends to just trying to do things. And you know, you learn as you go. You know, looking back, there were some opportunities that I missed that I was in the right place at the right time, but I didn't know how to take advantage of them. Even though I was like, I guess you could say taking advantage of them, I was only taking advantage of them on a small scale because that was how small my mind was. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't recognize simple things like, oh, if you're making if your goal is to make a certain amount of money and you are making money doing this one thing, how do you make more money? Do more of that thing that is working. Don't try 12 new things. So like that example is like Udemy, that platform for selling online courses and stuff. I was one of the first people on there and I would make way more money than I do now. But I've made a paycheck from them for like 10 years every single month. But it's less now than it was for less content back then because they
Mm-hmm.
just trimming the affiliate commissions or whatever vendor commissions and stuff. But so I could have just doubled down because I was making four figures or so, low four figures, and I was like, but I couldn't put that together in my mind of like, oh, that's basically what I'm making up my job. I don't need my job anymore.
Yeah.
All this mindset stuff of like, oh, I need a job. Why? Because my parents said I need a job because jobs are safety and security. And then like, and you know, I even took a risk in 2012 because and the goal was to double down on the Udemy courses, but this is where mindset comes into play. It's like I had something that was working. My goal was to do that, but I didn't have the discipline, the self-discipline at that time to make a schedule for myself because at work they give you a schedule and then you have to work with what little bit you have at the end of the day for your own hobbies and stuff. But when you so I took out this loan and my plan was this is enough money to last me for 6+ months. If I just do course creation all day, by the time the 6 months hits, I'll have so much money that I'll be able to pay each month on this loan.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything, you know, so it was then that's
You
my
just had
own.
all this time and you're
I
one
just
that
had all this time with nobody telling me what to do. So I was like, I could wake up at 10 today or 11 or not at all. And and then and so it was that. And then that was right about the time when I heard about this wonderful thing called high ticket coaching. So I was like, well, I've got all this money.
Yeah.
Why don't I just hire a high ticket coach? Because that
Yep.
seems to be what people are doing to make a lot of money quickly. Let me just pay 2,000 here, 3,000 here, 2,000. It's not my money anyway, just
Yep.
whatever. Just
Yeah.
easy go. So like, uh, you know, fast forward about 6 months later, I had to go back and get a job because like I ran out of money and I didn't do what I said I was going to do for myself. So again, looking back, it's like I would have been farther along faster if I just would have had some basic discipline and just some, I don't want to say common sense, but it's like it all comes back to like limiting beliefs, because
Mhm.
again, I didn't not have a work ethic. It was like I didn't have the mental strength and stuff that comes because again, there's no rules really. You just have to figure out what things work for you,
Yeah.
borrow some from this guy, borrow some from this, make your own system. No,
Mhm.
and what frustrated me even more, these very successful entrepreneurs at these meetings, these live events, I would, ask them and trying to get some information about like, how did you do this? How did you do this? So like, honestly, I don't really know what I'm doing. Everybody says that. They're like,
Yeah,
we
they
don't
do.
really know. And there's like, that's not very helpful. So
Yeah.
like, that's super vague. So like, and so, we talk, about making money and stuff, but they don't tell you about you need to set up like an LLC or a corporation and all this stuff. And like, who's your guy? I don't know. I just have a guy I trust. Or like, what's his name? Where do I get access to this? Because, so luckily those things fell into place. I have a good accountant now. I found him though at a job, so
Wow.
it's not, it's like, I don't, I don't know how you can have one without the other. It's like a lot of my resources that got me started in making money online and working for myself were at a job. So like I found my accountant from another coworker at a job. I found, believe it or not, I found like some of my SEO philosophies from my last job, which is about
Wow.
we sold vacuums online, but the guys that started it had been in the business for 30 plus years. So
Mhm.
they saw the whole evolution from offline to websites to
Mhm.
marketplace. So they had a lot of experience, random place to learn, right? But like,
Mhm.
and you can't get that. I could never find that information in a book. I would
Yep.
just have that right place at the right time, talking to that specific person. So I don't know. I guess I could say there's like don't discount whatever experiences you have or you got to do to get to where you want to be because you never know where you're going to find some of these little nuggets and secrets. Just keep a notepad, a digital notepad or something. Write all these things down because sometimes if you ever hear little secrets at all, in my experience, you only hear them once. So you better write that down.
Yeah.
You better write that resource down. You better write that phone number, that email down because a lot of these awesome resources that I have, I only met them once. I'm glad I wrote it down. You can't find these people
Yep.
because they don't want to be found. They
Yep.
don't, they're not out there advertising, but they're the right person that has the information that you need. So, I guess, so yeah, that my last job, when I finally got the courage to quit that job, it
Mhm.
was December 2016. And that was when I was like, I'm not going to have a repeat of what happened in 2012 because this time I had a little shift, a mental shift. So I was making probably more on the side than I was full time or almost full time at my job. But I had a little shift, and I think these are important so that people don't, I don't know, you just have to have some sort of breakthroughs along the way
For
to
sure.
push you.
Yeah, and those
So
failures and those things that happen to open those breakthroughs up. Yeah.
yeah, so to make working for myself a little more believable and achievable for myself, which just looking at the numbers is like, well, you could have quit at any time if you're sometimes making 3,000 on the side and then you do not make that at your job. Why are you at the job? So my goal for myself, instead of focusing on like $10,000 a month and then I'll be safe, now I was like, wait a second. So I'm already making a little bit on the side. It fluctuates month to month. But how much am I making at my job? And I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's only like 1,200 bucks. All I need to make extra is whatever I'm making on the side plus this number. If I
Yep.
can make 1,200 extra bucks a month, I don't need the job because
Freedom.
I don't have benefits or anything. So yeah, that's my freedom number. And I was like, I may not be that smart, but I think I'm smart enough to earn $80 a day in less than 12 hours, which is what I was spending at work because people don't factor in lunch, the commute to and from. That's more than an 8-hour workday because you got traffic in Austin and stuff. So I was like, I think I can do this in like probably 4 hours or something. Cause like I don't even work full time at my job, but I'm expected to be there because if I don't, I'm like a slacker, but I get paid hourly and I somehow have to stretch out a 4-hour job for 8 hours because I don't need to be here this long really. But again, if I'm not doing anything, I'm a slacker or whatever.
Yep.
Give you more work to do. And like, I don't want that. Why can't I just, you pay me and then I do the job and then you're happy? Why can't that be the situation?
Exactly.
So, yeah, so finally got the courage to quit my job in 2016 in December. And I, that, I would say the timing was pretty good because of some other things that happened that were happening in the company, some like yeah, embezzlement and things like that,
Oh
and
wow. It was just
bleeding
time.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wound up shutting down about 3 months later anyway. So I mean, I'm glad
Yeah.
that that was one
Sayonara.
time. That was one time when I was like, I was right. I was actually right that time. Um, so that was cool. And then yeah, that was I think that's the year that you kind of got introduced to me. So that was 2017, and pretty much after about March or April, that was when things picked up for me because and so everybody was used to look at my income screenshots that I used to
Oh yeah.
post, and I think they used to say what happened on this month, and it was April in 2017, and it wasn't so much what happened. That was the result of what the effort I put
Prior
in 9 years
to.
prior.
Mm.
So, and because if you remember, everything after that stayed about the same or increased. So like once I crossed 5 figures, which was just another mental, I didn't know what to do with that information because it was that was such a far off goal for me. And even though my income surpassed it, I accepted it, but I don't think I believed it for about 90 days because
Mm.
I didn't feel any different. And I was like, am I supposed to feel different? I don't feel any different. Am I weird that I don't feel different? Is this what it's supposed to feel like? And then it didn't matter because since it was passive and recurring, um, I was like, well, it doesn't matter really if I feel anything or not because it's going to keep on coming in and keep
Yes.
coming in the
Whether I work
next
or
month.
not. Yeah.
So it's like, so yeah, it took about 90 whole days to like for me to just wrap my head around like, oh, this is real. This is like real. I don't know what to do with this. I was like, I guess, am I rich now? Like, am I rich?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not that rich because it doesn't go as, I can't help lots of people with this, even though
Mm.
this may seem like a lot to them. It's not like I can go hand out everybody $10,000 a month because that's all I have.
Mm.
So yeah, just paradigm shift happened of like, wow, oh my gosh, this thing I've been wanting all my life, I have it now. And I don't I actually feel more poor than when I had less. Um I feel because I felt now I have something to lose.
Mm.
Where I was like, I don't want this to go away now that I get comfortable with this lifestyle. Because I don't really know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, again, mentally, I'm still wasn't that strong. But so I was like, uh-oh, I don't know how to recreate this. I hope it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, yeah,
That
I put
fear
in,
kind of set in a little bit. Yeah.
obviously I put in some effort, but then it was like the result was, what do you call it? Not, it was more than the effort I put in.
Mm.
Not completely related. I forget the word I'm trying to look for, but just not proportional.
Oh,
So I put
yep.
in a lot of effort and it was like, boom, because timing. It wasn't that I was a great marketer, it was timing.
Mm,
ClickFunnels, or let's go ahead and say the name, like
yeah.
ClickFunnels took, it was just boom, and like everybody ClickFunnels and books and events and everybody's ClickFunnels, and they don't even know why they're using ClickFunnels, but it's just a cool word. And
Yep.
I was in the right place at the right time. And if you look at, if you listen to a lot of other success stories, you'll find that same common denominator. It's not, yeah, they had to be smart and being, but timing is so crucial. You can have all the right pieces in the puzzle, but at the wrong time, good luck. Like Vine's not around anymore.
Yep.
TikTok is though.
Yep.
Sega Dreamcast isn't around anymore, even though they always had better graphics than the Nintendo. But somehow the US population, like we didn't adopt Sega over here. It was all Nintendo, Nintendo, Nintendo. But Sega was always ahead of Nintendo. So it's like, dude, you can have a great product, but if the timing of the market is off and they don't want to receive it, then good luck. You're not going to make any money. And those stars almost have to align. And then once they do, it's like you,
Exponential. You can go through the roof. Yeah.
yeah, you're just like, I don't know why people are buying Pokemon and Beanie Babies, but they are, and I'm rich. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, just, and then that's another thing, so there's all these, maybe I hope people take away some of these little epiphanies and limiting belief hacks and stuff. Like, when it comes to making money and teaching people how to make money in the make money online space, it can be easy to get attached to what you like or what you think other people would like, and that doesn't matter at all.
So true.
I think so. One little thing that your audience can maybe borrow is in regards to making a lot of money and then maybe doing what they want to really do and are passionate about instead is, this is my opinion, but like, so that you don't have to be a beggar and ask other people for all these donations and then start a GoFundMe and all this stuff for your dream project. Try and identify some of the things that are working and selling, regardless of whether you love that thing. Like, just go where the money's at. Make your money and profit there. Take that profit, and then you can pour it into the thing that you want. Because more often than not, the little niche thing that you're interested in and want to change the world with, it's going to be a long, slow, expensive uphill battle, and you're going
Yes.
to need some capital. So where are you going to get it? You're going to have to borrow it, get donations, or make it in a place where people are actually spending money. So figure out, there's lots of these too. So just figure out where some of the money is flowing now. Take advantage of the ClickFunnels, take advantage of selling Beanie Babies, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, whatever is working.
Yep.
TikTok right now, OnlyFans. I don't care how you make the money. Go where the people are and where there's easy traffic and easy money flowing. Get a portion of that. You don't have to do that forever, just to get that foundation. Then you can pour that towards your passion, because I mean, it's very, very, very rare that you're gonna find someone who's successful doing it the opposite way of like, well, we just started this little thing and then like
And it was my
5 months
passion and I
later,
loved it and it just blew
yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah, and all those people, not all, but a lot of those people, if it did blow up, they had some sort of leverage publicity somewhere.
Yes.
Very rarely um, do they just, is a grassroots effort where they just go from zero to something, and then Whole Foods is now put our lemonade in all their stores, and now my 6-year-old daughter that wanted to start a lemonade company is a millionaire. That's a true
Exactly.
story. That's a
Yep.
true story. I forget the name. It's like Lulu's Lemonade or something like that. I don't know, but that so just, and again, I guess that's something that comes from experience. You can take advice from someone like me that's done it and seen all this stuff. But I don't get mad at people that don't, because um you just have to get out there and live. You have to experience things yourself. There, again, you
Yep.
can read all the books in the world, and you'll never be my competition.
Yep.
So, like, because if you're really smart but you never do anything, who cares?
Yep.
Like, just I definitely encourage you to read books, meet people, but then like implement the little bit that you
Yes.
did. Like the people that I met in 2016, they learned a little, implemented a lot.
Mm.
It didn't like learn, 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 learn. Oh, just one
Yeah.
more course. Well, that's what's keeping you broke. Just implement any of those things. They all work.
Yep.
Like it's
I,
just whether or not it resonates with you and your personality. Because like I don't do e-com, I don't do drop shipping. I remember when that was popular. I knew that wasn't going to be for me. Even though
mhm.
everybody's like, "Here, you got to jump on drop shipping." Like, no, it's not for me. I know my personality, but now,
Yep.
just like SEO and affiliate marketing is what I do, it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Yep.
Podcast, I don't care. Like, there's a whole lot of ways to make money. Flip stuff on, arbitrage by flipping stuff, getting stuff on free on Facebook marketplaces and sell it on Craigslist. It doesn't matter. Like, all those things work. I know people have made thousands of dollars every single month from doing that. So,
So
like,
true.
no shame. But some of, I mean, if you want to tie it into spirituality and religion and stuff, I don't know your religious or like upbringing. I grew up Southern Baptist. There's a lot of guilt and shame and fear that's
Around money. Mhm.
downloaded into us. So things like, oh, well, yeah, how's Johnny doing? Well, he just flips stuff on Craigslist. He probably makes more than you do at your 9 to 5, but he just kind of does stuff on Craigslist. But he's making $5,000 a month. He has to pay for his own benefits and stuff, and he has a lot of free time, but like, it's not a real job. What?
What's wrong
Like,
with that? Yeah.
what's wrong? Isn't the goal of the job to have money? Like,
Yep.
so you can have a life. Well, what if you can have both? Like it
Mm.
doesn't matter. So there's a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of things that you have to, I call it like untangling that pretzel that the religion and society and education system has worked so hard to twist our minds into these tight little pretzels. And then good luck getting out of that, because the all your friends and family and people you care about, whether they believe those things or not, they're going to try to reinforce those beliefs because it's just to keep you safe,
Yep.
keeps them safe because they don't
Yep.
want you to hurt. So they don't color outside the lines. And it's like, that's where all the opportunity is, though. Like, I mean, do you really want to model and emulate those people? If you do, good. But if you don't like what you see, you're going to have to probably do something different. So, I mean, I don't know. We can talk a lot about this. Like again, we got with financial stuff, you've got, kind of two big camps. They've got Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki. Dave's doing great stuff,
Yep.
but there's a lot of the things he teaches that don't, even though he ties it back to biblical principles, it's not really relevant to the way the modern monetary system works. That's my opinion. And so Robert Kiyosaki um, educates people more on like, oh, this is how the monetary system actually works. It's kind of jacked up, but like once you learn it, it's kind of work with the system. So I'm not saying one is bad. I kind of
Mine.
subscribe
Yeah.
to a hybrid approach. It's like I like Dave for the budgeting aspect, but if you want to learn how money actually works in this country, and I think pretty much globally, but definitely in this country, it's all debt based.
Yep.
So if you buy into that Bible verse that Dave ties everything into, like borrower slave to the lender, well, congratulations, because we're all in debt.
Yeah.
We're all in debt, and you can never get out in this country.
Exactly.
You just have to learn how the system works. It's not a bad thing. It's very counterintuitive. And so I would recommend that people, yeah, go buy Financial Peace University. Or I'm actually a part of my church does that, and it's actually has a session tonight. So I'm
Oh, very cool.
The last time I went through it was 20 years ago, so it's kind of a refresher for me
Yeah.
now that I have money. Because when I was in high school was the first time I went through it, but I didn't have any money, so I was like,
Like,
"This
what do
is
I
cool."
do with this information? Yeah.
I got no money to manage. There's
Yeah.
nothing to budget, Dave. Uh,
Yep.
I don't have any money, and so now that I have it, it's a good refresher. And then yeah, we go through all the Robert Kiyosaki books. I'm reading Fake right now, which I think is his most recent book, which kind of breaks down the monetary system, and it's just good to know that stuff because they're schools don't teach this. Uh, Higher level education does not teach this either. So you, I, I think people get offended when they hear the word ignorant, but that's not saying you're stupid. It's just you don't know.
Don't know
And
what you
so,
don't know. Yeah,
you know what you
exactly.
don't know. So like you're just gonna be ignorant. And if you're cool with that, fine. But like you don't have to be so frustrated. You just go learn how it actually works. It's really simple, but again, it's finding that correct information is can be a challenge because again, you put your faith and hope and trust in people that you want to believe in, that you think align with like your morals and values and stuff. And the things that a lot of people are teaching is not what they're actually doing.
So true.
So,
Yeah. Even you
so
think of sports coaches, they're like super out of shape and they're telling their people to go run sprints. And you're like, dude, like,
right,
what are you telling me to get in shape? And you're like,
right. How can I trust you?
yeah,
You, I know it. That's a big one. The yeah, workout trainer guy that's like overweight, but he's like, well, back in my day, it's like, why aren't you fit now? Like you're going
do
through
it
something?
yourself,
Like,
dude.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, and again, but take that with a grain of salt too, because there are some exceptions where again, there's people that read a lot of books, they are smart, for whatever reason, they got limiting beliefs holding them back as to why they're not rich. Um, Yet or whatever. So they never implemented that stuff. But so you can still actually learn from some of those people.
Mm,
But yeah, I guess be a little bit careful on who you take advice from. It'd be probably better to take advice from people who are doing or have had done that thing and had success with it. So, but those people aren't always around or in proximity. So,
hmm
oh, yeah, develop a relationship with God, pray a lot, and just trust that He's gonna put you in proximity with the right people. Because some of the
Amen.
other people that, some of the folks that you run into, that other people in your life will say yes or no to or influence you. They can't see everything. They again they have their own little perspective. So sometimes the people that actually benefit you the will benefit you the most if you take other people's opinion into account about that person, you may just burn a bridge where that was a huge opportunity. So there's, life is a big old paradox. It's like you just, I don't know, just take it day by day. Try to remember what you learned. And I like to sum up life now with this phrase: just have a plan, but be flexible.
I like that.
Because if you don't have some direction, you're not going to get anywhere. But you need to be flexible because how you achieve those goals or where God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, steers you, you're probably going to get there in a different way than you had imagined, or you probably
hmm
don't even know how you're going to get there. So why stress about it? Just know that you can achieve that thing. Take the first step, and then usually the next step will open up, and then the next step. Because in my training, which affiliate training that you went to through and had success with, I was the same way. It's like I wanted to know answers to questions, certain questions, but like there's certain questions that you won't even uh, whatever come up with
Reach. Yeah.
until you get started. You can't ever
So
know it all
true.
before getting started. So take the information that your mentor or whatever is giving you, walk with it, and then you're like, oh, well, that bing, like I have this
Then you can
question.
ask a question. Yeah, not before
Then
you even
ask
take that step. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's just things that are outside of your awareness, and you're only going to arrive at those questions once you start doing. And yeah, I guess that's what makes life an adventure and fun. And, so whatever, whatever. I guess it's serious, but don't take it too, like, yeah, be flexible. Sometimes people
I have a plan.
say don't take life too seriously. They take that the wrong way, but it's like, you got to be flexible because, like, most of the time things aren't going to go your way. But if you don't have a plan, then like you're not going to go anywhere. So
Yep.
got to have some direction. But
Yes.
where you wind up is really, I guess, up to you and God or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but just know that again, God or the universe or whatever you want to, categorize, that has your best interest at heart. And everybody's on a different journey, and everybody is in a different place in their journey.
For
So
sure.
that's certain things resonate with certain people in their 20s, and then maybe they hear it again in their 40s, and then it doesn't, and then vice versa. And so, like, maybe you read a book in your 20s and you're like, that didn't really click. And then
Don't
you
get
read
it.
it, and you're like, why didn't I see
Yeah.
this? Like the same way with the Bible, the Bible doesn't change, but you do. So
Exactly.
every time you open it, if you read the same verse once a year, every year, you're like, oh, this means something completely different. Why? Because
Amen.
you gathered a whole new set of life experiences in the last 365 days. So
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Before we get into kind of the spiritual aspect, I really love how you just kind of, I mean, there's so much there, but not like the everything you just said, but the structure, like for people to learn how to, because like you're saying, where you had no structure in your day, like that first time you quit your job and then you had to go get back to a job. And like, and then I've done that over and over myself. And it's like, it's so because we're so used to that programming. And I was even homeschooled, but I was still used to that subconscious programming, even from people outside of my homeschool. Even my parents were like, be entrepreneur. Like they gave me the opportunities. I was doing get paid to sites, doing SEO when I was like 13 years old, doing like Cash Crate and like all those sites. I'm
yeah,
sure we were along that same journey around like 10 to 2013, which is wild. But I think it does come back to what you just said is like, or what you said is like that overload of information. We get trained subconsciously to just continue to learn and learn and learn in school and learn and learn. And there's no like learn, apply, learn, apply. Okay, take that next step. Okay, question it. Okay, apply. Like that's just
or
not. And I think so
or
many
it's
people have
just
that struggle.
right, or it's just learning to memorize so that you can take the test to get the grade to pass the grade. And you're like, but how? But why? Why am I learning it? How's it making me a better person? There's like because you need to learn math, and you're
Yeah.
like, uh, okay. Um, but yeah, and then I'll say this too on that note of like creating structure. I remember it, yeah, the 2017, I started going to well, I was going to the gym before, but I started going in the earlier part of the day.
Mm,
So like 10 a.m. And I thought it took it was about when the passive income like really kicked up. It took about 90 days for me going to the gym for me to be okay with giving myself permission to go to the gym at 10 in the morning when no one else was there. Cause I was like, is this okay? This is weird. Everybody else is at work. I'm the only one here. No lines, which is awesome. Is this weird? Like, I feel like I'm living in a dream. Like, I can go
yeah.
get my oil changed anytime I want. Like, it doesn't have to be on Saturday morning when it's packed. Like,
Yeah.
I can go to lunch at a restaurant before or after the lunch traffic and avoid all lines. Like, so it wasn't like the money provided the lifestyle that kind of just opened up all my time. And I was like, wow, like, especially when you've got a little bit of passive income because you're like, well, I can actually like do stuff with the passive money, or I can use some of the free time that I now have to make even more money that builds another passive stream of income. So it's like, wow, it's just like this. Well, like Dave Ramsey talks about debt snowball. There's a wealth snowball too. It goes the opposite
Yes.
direction too. So like once you get some momentum, which no one really talks about, it's like it has a compounding effect too. Like because like Myron Golden calls it making money babies. Says like your money
Yes.
makes money makes more money. Like
Yeah.
and that it's interesting, like that you're spiritual and stuff and familiar with some of these principles and philosophies, but like abundance is all around us. And yet in our media, again, at least in this country, I haven't been to all the other countries, but like in this country specifically, and especially if you niche down in the world of like make money online, affiliate marketing, biz op, it's all about scarcity, which is bonkers. And the example I like to use is fruit. Like when you open up any fruit, it has what inside? It has a seed.
Yep.
A lot of them have lots of seeds. What do seeds grow? Do they grow another peach, or do they grow a peach tree? Like it,
Whoa. Yeah.
what? Like peach trees growing more peach trees, which grow a lot more peaches, which grow peach trees. Like that's the world we live in. And like we're conditioned to believe in like um scarcity, it's crazy. And then like to yeah, further expand on that, it's like the the monetary system, it's like it's not real. It's not real. It's like monopoly money. And I'm gonna bend down for a second because I've got
Yeah.
movie prop money I want to show. So I've got this whole bag, but these are like $10,000 stacks, and I've got a bag down by my desk that's $1 million, and I recently got it because I'd never seen $1 million, so
Yeah.
I
Just to
just
see it visually like that.
yeah, so I did this little exercise for myself back in 2017 or 2018, and I don't really remember why I did it. I think it's just to, like, make myself feel rich, even though I couldn't withdraw this much. I wasn't making this much at the time.
Mhm.
But that in 2018, a friend came over, another marketer, to help me out with something. And I was like, well, how much should I owe you? And he was like, oh, that's all right, man. Don't worry about it. I got you. I was like, well, I gotta give you something. I mean, it was really valuable information you shared. And so I had all these stacks of movie prop money. And so I grabbed a stack of 100,000 of them. And I said, do you want this? Like, and he was like, yeah, I want that. Awesome. Fast forward a year later, we're friends, so we hang out, but like he mentioned this to me a year later. He said, man, last year I made 6 figures for the first time. He said, I think that movie prop money really helped with that. Like, I'm so thankful that you gave that to me, because you put it beside my desk. I look at it every single day. That was 2018. So, the year of 2018, this was early on. So he had pretty much the whole year to work with, but he's never made less than 6 figures since. And
Wow.
so it was actually his idea this year. He said, let's do it for $1 million. And I was like, that's a
Great
great idea.
idea.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Because again, and I think it's really important to see it, because this list pretty much looks real. And
Hmm.
market is so powerful. And I know this probably seems silly for the person watching this. That's like, oh, this is a stupid whatever exercise. It's extremely powerful, because when you see this every day, first off, you get comfortable with the weirdness of like having $1 million sitting
Just under
there.
your desk. Yeah.
Yeah, so that when you actually achieve it in real life, you're comfortable with it, because it is a
Hmm.
little weird until it isn't. But there's a lot of people out there where this is nothing. This is 10 grand. I know another marketer who I haven't seen this, but another friend of mine is friends with him. And he said, yeah, man, at least he used to carry around $5,000 in his wallet everywhere he goes, to remind him where he came from, and that like he's actually made it. So he just keeps 5,000 on him at all times, just to remind him like, hey, he's blessed, he's come a long way.
Abundance. Yeah.
So it's really powerful. And I would encourage people to do this. You can just Google like movie prop money and get your own. It is kind of a little bit of an investment, but I mean I think it cost me 1,300 for all this, but small price to pay
Oh, yeah.
for $1 million. And then let's just say you only make a 6 figures for the first time this year. It was a positive ROI. Like, and I think once you overcome that mental hurdle, that's going to become your norm. And you're like, well, anything I make below that and I feel poor, so it's weird, but and you can do the same thing for 7 figures. So that's what I'm doing this year.
I love
Uh,
that. Yeah.
just
They
to see
say,
it, 'cause, one more thing. So,
Yeah, no, I agree.
just to see it, because in this world of digital marketing, we see ones and zeros, you see screenshots. It's never tangible though. Who
Yes.
goes to the bank? And I mean, for an actual $1 million like that, my understanding, because I've never done it, but I've done it with yeah, several $1,000s. But for $1 million, I don't even think you can go to the bank and get it. You have to go in and put a request, and in a week or two, they'll deliver it, and then you come and make an appointment, come pick it up, because they don't actually have the cash there. So
Yeah.
that whole process is just like, wait, what? Like I'm rich, but I can't even touch my own money. Nope, because
Mm,
so again, just learning the system and how it works, and getting around, getting in proximity to people that are crushing it and stuff. Like, how do you become a better volleyball player? You
hang
play
out with
with,
those high level volleyball players and get crushed, get destroyed by them, and you're like, all right, sweet. Now I know what I
and
need to
it,
know.
yeah, and then you go back to like the little, I don't know what they're called, like pick me up games or whatever with the common folks, and you're just like, boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom. And they're like,
exactly.
who are you? And you're just like, I'm not the best volleyball player I know, but
Yeah.
I'm the best that you know.
Exactly. No, I love that. And that just that visualization. Like I train some athletes for mental performance. And there's so much there. Like I've done some studies recently. Your mind doesn't know whether you visualize it or it's actually real. So that practice right there is so critical because it's like your brain doesn't know that it's not real, and you're really like feeling as if you have that. And if you're living as if like you're like we're talking about is like the mind and everything, you have to become that person that is able to make that kind of money. So it's almost like you're living as if each and every day, to where you're going to get that no matter what, because you're living as if each and every day, and you're visualizing, you're seeing it, you're becoming it, and you're taking the actions that that person would, because you're becoming it and visualizing it. So I love that exercise.
Yep, I agree. And I've heard those statements that you just said before, but they're only just now starting to click, and I'm understanding them. Like, what I'll just restate what you just said, like, you attract what you are. So you have to become those things. You can't wishfully think them. You have to become that person.
Mm.
And that's either going to click for people watching this, or it may not click yet. If you keep living and you keep hanging around successful people, and you keep listening to that phrase over and over again, and one day it will click and make sense. Like, because and there's no real like perfect roadmap to achieve that, but like, you have to become that person. And so, and there's little shortcuts and hacks for able to be able to do that. So like, when I was withdrawing like large big stacks of money, what I would do, since I wasn't able to do that with $100 bills, I would just go get big stacks of $1 bills, because those are only $100 each.
Yep.
So stack those, and that's real money, And if you want to feel real rich, you can go get $100 bill, slide that on top, so it creates the illusion that it's real, and it's all real money. So
Yeah.
and those are just things you can do for yourself. And again, I know there's haters out there. They'll be like, well, it's only a stack of hundreds. Like, yeah, but it's more than you have. So
Yep.
like, the only people I find that criticize you are people that are doing less than you. I've never been attacked by people that are doing more. Never, so
And most people aren't in that space to criticize because they're so caught up in what they're doing. Like, why would you? You don't even have the time and energy and effort to do that. The only people that do are the ones that are struggling or that have the time to scroll on their phone and say those things.
yeah, yeah, if they're crushing it in the crypto space, they're not like, man, screw you and your stupid drop shipping business. Those are fake numbers. Like, you're so in your lane. Like, again, you're not going to get that hate from people that are on the same level of success in other areas. So like, and so that you will get the trolls and stuff. The more success you have, especially if you have some exposure out there, you're going to have haters. You could be nice to everybody, and then someone just has a bad day and they're jealous of what you have because they don't believe it in for themselves. So they just poo poo on you, and it takes some thick skin, because if you have a course, you're going to get hate email. Oh, I'm gonna sue you for spamming me. It's like, well, you shouldn't have subscribed to my email list,
Yeah.
like, for my free offer.
Yeah.
Like, people, whatever.
That's
So
the human nature, the human sinful nature that we all have. We're capable of.
yeah, you're gonna assume you're gonna take me to court with money that you don't have because you don't know that that actually costs money.
Yeah,
Good luck with
exactly.
that.
Delusional. And before we get into the spiritual aspect, one thing that you mentioned that I really liked, and that's been a paradigm shift for me too recently, is because I feel like for so long I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep pursuing my passion, pursue my passion, pursue my passion. And like volleyball, like unless you're the top four in the country, you're not making anything. Top four, you live in California, you're barely making six figures, so you're not making anything like as a professional athlete. And if I'm like, oh, I want people to become, I mean, yeah, I have a couple clients with mental performance, but it's like to be tangible, and that's what I love to do is teaching people how to like actually create structure in their day, discipline, all those things, but that's not very tangible. And now, like over the last 6 months, I've created an offer that helps athletes make another 50 grand to 100 grand a year with their like assets and what they have selling like a digital product. Cause most of them rely on sponsorships and they rely on brand deals and all these different things and they're not making any money. So now that I've had a digital marketing experience, I made a guy 100 grand in one night, made a guy a million in one night, like a client of mine. And so now I'm like, now it's been a shift for me because I'm like, man, I've done that. Like, why am I not doing that? Like, I'm just going after, I've been going after my passion. And it's like, I can go, and if I can go after money, because if I make people more money, they're going to give me money, and then I can pursue my passion after that, you know? So
Exactly, exactly.
it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, it's become so real for me over the last year because I've been able to make these athletes, another extra 50, 100 grand that changed their life in a year. And it's like so simple because they just don't know what they don't know. And so, yeah, and versus the tangibility of like, oh, I'm going to help you become more present or peaceful. Like some people pay me for that, and I do have some clients for that, but that's not tangible. Like, and it's like my passion. I want to help people with that, but it's like, who's going to pay me 50 grand for that? Someone will pay me 50 grand to make them 100 grand for sure. It's just.
And it's simple once you find it, but it can be a long, challenging journey to arrive at that little sweet spot that you're like, oh, this is my happy place. That's like, I love to do it. People love the work that I do for them, and they pay me lots of money. And then I can do the other thing that I really like to do with the money that I now have. It's,
That's not
it's
what they teach you. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, but again, it's a journey. So like the thing I'm doing now is not the thing that I started out doing, or I didn't think I would like it, but I found an angle within SEO that made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I think I can teach this to others with confidence and not feel like a scammer,
Yep.
because I had to get over that a little bit myself. But I think you were one of my initial success stories, and I think one of the reasons I would give people their money back once they made their money back and shot a testimonial came from a place of like limiting belief of like
The proof.
I didn't believe in myself and my process to be duplicatable for others. But now that I have all those testimonials, and they're from real people, you're one of them,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I know you made real money. It's like, well, now there's no question. So like, I don't know how these people did what they did. I know they all have the same training, but they have different backgrounds. But somehow each of these different people from different ages, different countries took this information, made it work for them. I've got a lot of results now. So
Yep.
like, if I don't believe in myself at this point, I'm crazy because uh, I've got proof. They've got proof.
Yeah.
That
There's no other
like,
question there. There's so much certainty that I feel like that comes from that. Like, cause yeah, you can throw something out there, and if you don't have the results yourself, it's like, oh, where's it? You don't have any certainty, so you can't bring certainty into their lives. But once you bring that certainty and you bring that and you see them change their lives and get those results like I got with your program, then you have utter certainty. You're like, why would I not do this? Like, this is my moral obligation because all these people are like changing their lives from this. And then you develop this certainty of like, where you're going so much more from that.
yeah, so that helped me over time and stuff. But yeah, it's just really cool to know that, oh, cool. I guess I've got something because and some people the people use it in different ways. Some people use it as stepping stones, some people use it to do full time and it changes their whole life. But like even the ones that just use it as stepping stones, I think it was a catalyst to help them change their life because
Exactly.
I've got another one. I don't even call him a student anymore. He's like a peer. He used it and used that cash flow to launch into like paid ads and learn copywriting. And now he's like pretty sure like millionaire. And so he just went a different direction, but it was the catalyst that helped him break free from his super long hour 9 to 5 and stuff. So, and he's got a great life now that he just again designed all, and there's no blueprint for that. He just, it's a work in progress. You just kind of tweak until you get it to where you want. And then that's probably going to change based on life circumstances. So if you're single, it's going to change. If you have a significant other, kids, you're going to change again. So like, there's just levels.
For
So
sure. Yeah, no, I love that. Now that we kind of talked a lot about that entrepreneurship, I feel like there's so much gold there and so many incredible things that the audience can hear from that. I want to dive into a little bit into kind of that getting your mind right and spirit right. Kind of you can combine them if you want, or just kind of go into like what that journey's been like for you to become the person you are becoming. And it's endless, it's like we're never going to arrive. We're always going to be striving forward to, especially in the spiritual realm. It's like you can always learn more and grow more and become a better disciple of Christ and all the above. And yeah, I just kind of want to hear a little bit like more of the, we talked a lot about that money and entrepreneurship stuff, but like, yeah, what's that stuff that you've kind of been growing and learning on the mindset side of things, as well as your spiritual walk? Maybe we can separate a little bit because it's hard to combine those.
yeah, and I know we don't have like forever to talk about this, but I'll try to be as concise as possible. So yeah, the some takeaways or things that happened to me is I guess I was focused so much on the money and that it was so far away, and that by the time it happened, which was like 2017 for me, it happened sooner than I anticipated it would happen. It just sort of like happened. Yes, again, I put in effort, but then it happened and it did really well, and I made more than I thought I was worthy of and stuff. And so that led me to a lot of like questions and seeing the whole world a little bit different. And like, wow, like I'm kind of plucked from society all of a sudden. And I'm watching the world go by, but I'm not, I'm in it, but I'm not, I'm like outside the matrix a little bit. Cause I'm like, oh, I can just, I, I'm just like can be wherever I want. And like, doesn't,
Yeah.
nobody really cares. Like,
Undercover, you could do your thing. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like a little weaving through society and stuff. I'm not married to any kind of job or anything. And so eventually that sent me to like, just got me that plus a little bit of like isolation and the, I don't know, creating a world where everything was what I wanted to do. It got me more bitter and darker and stuff. And
Mhm.
then I pre-COVID, I was already, working from home a couple of years prior to that. So by the time 2020 came around, I already had experience in that. So I wasn't really threatened by COVID. And they're like, oh, everybody's got to work from home. Like I've been doing this for years. So it's no different.
Same old. Yeah.
I even get my groceries delivered. So when toilet paper was all crazy, I was like, I'll just leave it up to Instacart. Like and they didn't have a problem. I don't know if they had to elbow people to get my toilet paper, but they brought it to me.
Yeah.
So my lifestyle
No
didn't
different for
change.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my lifestyle didn't change any. It was just like, oh, now I gotta wear these dumb masks just to go outside. This is stupid. Because no one's around me. Like this doesn't make any logical sense. Um, so that was a dark period, and then yeah, just some other like there's I guess some things I won't share, but it was just yeah, the time gave me a lot of or the passive income gave me a lot of time to question things, which
Oh
is
yeah.
good and bad. And I don't think most people get that opportunity because they have to keep working. If they don't, they don't get money and blah blah blah. So they never get a chance to stop. And so it's a blessing to be able to have that ability to step back and evaluate your life and your beliefs and things like that. Because once, yeah, I mean, it throws you off the rails, passive income, because you're like, wait a second, I think I'm like technically retired, but I'm young. That Dave Ramsey said I'm not going to be retired until I'm old, kind of, and like invest in a mutual fund at 8% a year for 40 years, and then you're 60. I'm not
Yeah.
60. And I'm like, man, I'm making more money passively than my parents are making at their jobs right now combined. That feels wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and then um, just a lot of that led me into kind of some spiritual stuff, which I'd never really been. I grew up in the church, but never really had a relationship with God ever.
Yep.
It was just like my life was good.
Yep.
Never really had any
Content.
backing too much. I guess but again, it comes down to like awareness. I just wasn't aware of certain things, and then some things happened in my life to where it forced me to address those things. And I just went through a really, really dark season of just like only being able to see life one way. And I that lasted for over 12 months. And I only recently came out of that in August of 2023. Now it's February of 2024. Um, and I guess the one good thing I had going for me was even though it was dwindling, I still had passive income that was able to support me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't making as much as I was in 2017, 18, 19. I still had enough. I still had more coming in than most people make at their full-time jobs, especially in my hometown, which is kind of probably pisses them off, but it's like it is what it
You're
is.
like, dude, you can lay in bed and still make the same money. I'm sweating at my job 8 hours a day. What the heck? This is a
Basically,
scam. I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
It's not fair. Your life. You see, my life wasn't messed up. It was just mental. So I've taken blood tests, psychological tests. My blood at work is amazing. My Somehow, even though I felt like my head was in a vice and I had the blinders on, it was just like consumed by I never saw the devil or anything, but like I feel like I was just being bombarded by these demonic spirits
Spirits,
and
yeah.
like basically like sucking me down to hell
Mm,
and every day. And it was just being in that um and almost hard to see. I couldn't really see very much, but like in spite of all that, somehow I can it doesn't make as much sense to me of how I was able to do this. But yeah, my blood work was amazing because I'm not on any drugs. Um, I'm very healthy somehow on the inside. I didn't just pass, but I like aced all the psychological tests. I was like off the
wow.
charts genius. And I'm like, so it frustrated me even more though, because they couldn't identify anything because it's all mental and
Yep.
really that's what the psychologists say, but I knew it was spiritual, but they can't evaluate that. So
Yeah.
that's even more frustrating. So their only tools are their little psychological DSM-5 things that they learned in school, or let's hook you up on some antidepressants. I'm like, I'm not depressed. And they're like, well, you sound like you're pretty depressed. I'm like, but I mean, I am, but like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
clinically depressed or whatever. I've never been depressed in my life. Um, I'm shutting down because I don't have answers to these questions
Mm,
that to me they're black and white, and my mind is being ripped apart right now because I see the whole world in gray.
yeah.
And I've been told what I've interpreted my whole life is that I'm wrong because I'm not like my parents. And I'm also not like, just F the world, like go crazy. Like I'm somewhere in between, and I just can't make sense of everything that I've been told. And through talking to other people and just kind of like spilling everything out to them, yeah, I guess somewhere along the way that talking about it has helped. And I was impressed to see that that the people I opened up to, I mean, there may be one or two people that were like, "Get your life together, be a man, man up," or whatever. But like 98% of them were understanding because they had their own battles and
Mm.
worse things that happened to them, or they could completely relate, and they didn't judge me. And it's like, you can't really say the word suicidal in these therapy sessions, but I did a lot of times because I didn't know how else to describe it. But then they punish you, and then they don't tell you that. So you get punished for telling the truth but when you start to open up to older, especially older men, you realize there's a whole weight of the world is on men's shoulders, and we carry that. And if we're expected to carry that, and we don't really have anybody to talk to. And I didn't even know that if you talk to someone, you were supposed to talk to a therapist or whatever. But like, so we're almost like, my interpretation is we're ashamed to talk of talking to other men.
Big time.
It's a shame to go for men to have to go to a therapist, even though that is a solution. But in a small town, those don't really exist too much. Or you're taking a gamble of like, well, I hope this one's good because there's only two. Um,
Yeah.
and you can't really open up to your wife or spouse or significant other in the way that they can dump their drama on you, because then you're seen as weak and not a strong leader. And so you're like, wow, you're really trapped. And it seems like all these men identify with the same struggle. Um, so yeah, I learned a lot during that, and I'll share this too, just as some tips and recommendations. So I checked myself in, well, once voluntarily to a behavioral health place out here in Austin. I'll get back to that in a minute, and then through a psychological evaluation from saying things like suicidal, which I never hurt myself, I never hurt anybody else. I don't, but because you say those words, they penalize you.
Yep.
And while I was in Mississippi during the last session of a psychological evaluation, they said I was about to go to work after that evening after the session, and they said, "Well, we can't really let you go because of what you said." And I'm like, but I mean, I drove myself here. I'm stable enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, you've got two options. You can either drive to this behavioral health center in the next town over, or we can have a police escort you there. And like, that's the same thing. Like, that's not a choice really. And so anyway, long story short, it's like I checked myself in there because it's weird. You can voluntarily check yourself in there, but you cannot voluntarily check yourself out.
Out. Yeah, exactly.
Jacked
In, but then
up.
out, no chance. Yeah.
It's jacked up, and they have all
Hmm.
these rules that they have that they don't tell you about until you've signed all these papers and locked yourself in there. And so my my experience in those two places were, they don't do, and they weren't bad places. They weren't like prison conditions or whatever. Clean, staff was nice and whatever, and they fed us decent meals. But it was like one step above prison in the sense that it's just a really expensive holding tank. And so the reason I signed myself in that first place was I was like, well, they said they're going to have a counselor in there. Maybe they can
Hmm.
talk to me. That was about this amount of
The
my
whole
time.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, the rest was just like roaming around the halls, waiting for the next meal, watching TVs, coloring in
Just like you do anywhere else, really, right? Yeah.
coloring booklets. I'm like, we're grown ass men in here,
Yeah.
and just we got to dress in these little smocks or whatever. We can't have anything with laces, so I couldn't bring my hoodie. Couldn't wear shoes, or if we did, you have to take the laces out. I'm like, I'm not going to put the laces back in. Can't wear a belt. So all these things, and so in my experience, again, they're not bad, but it's like they don't help you. And
Yes. They
the
don't have the tools that they can help you with specifically. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
seem
and
like.
so, but they're expensive. They don't help you. And what's even more messed up, all the nurses and doctors there know they're not helping you.
Wow.
But they're like, well, it's just this is procedure. We're gonna draw your blood. We're gonna ask you the same questions every day, and make you go crazy, basically. And then if you do go crazy, then they keep you in there longer. So it's like, and then they make you try and take pills and stuff. So I didn't come in there on any pills. And they're like, well,
Mm.
the doctor prescribed you this. You need to take it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take it. And they're like, oh, he refused to take it. Check mark. I'm like, I don't know anything about this drug, nor do I want it in my body. Like, and so the again, so all that to say, if you're I feel bad for the people that are struggling mentally, that, and this is my opinion. I believe that in my experience of what I was going through, a lot of the mental stuff that people go through or say they go through, I believe that's rooted in spiritual stuff. And because there was nothing that they could do to help me. I couldn't even focus on any of I hired like a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever, and we had these sessions, but it was basically just me venting and talking. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't achieve anything, and I
Mm.
certainly couldn't implement any kind of frameworks or exercise. I didn't have the capacity to I was just stuck. And so I believe that all that stuff can be solved once you figure out what's holding you back, like spiritually. And then I guess a layer above that is like um, trying to figure out and evaluate these any kind of childhood ways that you receive things. Some people call it trauma, but like how you interpreted the world as a kid, and you've gone through life with those perceptions. Once you figure out some different ways of looking at those, then you'll heal yourself. You don't need drugs. You don't need people. Um, and but yeah, so funny enough, so nothing that at these facilities actually worked that the doctors or the institutions did. But believe it or not, the only thing that really seemed to help was actually talking to the other people that were there, the
Wow.
other people
People
that
that are
were.
going through a similar thing that were in that facility.
Yep. So the night that I got, I guess you call it saved, and this time for real, that was the same day that
Praise
I
God.
got out of the second behavioral institute or whatever. And it was for a weekend. So from Friday until Monday at noon. And I was just chilling there the whole time, but I was at peace the whole time for some weird reason. Because I guess because I was like, I've already been here. I know it's not going to do anything, but I just made conversation with the other random people that happen to be there. And believe it or not, I just kind of, it was interesting to talk to them. It was Mississippi, so it was a mixture between like white and black, old and young, male and female, actually,
Hmm.
uh, in this same area. But no co-ed rooms. It was just male or female, but we could all come to these common areas and talk. And and just I don't know what I gathered from that was, and I didn't go into it with this expectation, but it was just like, whatever, we got nothing to do except kill time. I feel like every day felt like a year in here. So 24 hours feels like 3 weeks.
Yep.
Um, and they don't have I think they have a clock, but that's about it. So we don't know what time it
It's so
is.
dark and yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, just like we're just like walking around like crazy people. You just pacing the halls, watching whatever's on TV, and trying to pass the time and wait for our next meal or snack. Or, but you start to, I don't know. I just got a lot of unexpected like feedback that I still remember today of some of the conversations I had with people, and I think that's really what helped
Wow.
um finalize and move some things around in my mind. It was just like, you know what, like I don't know, but it wasn't anything that I did because
Mm-hmm.
I still felt about the same. I think that morning when I got checked out, but then when I was at my little dinky $10 an hour sandwich job that night, which is purely to give myself something to
Something to
do,
do. Yeah.
physically monotonous. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
else that worked there, they were like, "You're not working here for the money." I'm like, "No, I'm making a lot more than this on the side." And they're like, "Well, why are you working here if you don't need the money?" I'm like, "This is nothing." Like,
Yeah.
but it was what I needed. And somehow, when I was making sandwiches that night, I got checked out of the behavioral institute and went to work that night. Um, Everything just lifted. I don't know that, but not
Praise
only
God.
that. So all the darkness, which was just there and just getting worse and worse and worse, it just lifted. But not only that, all of all of those questions, and like I just call them like impossible to answer life questions, I I don't know if it's the answer, but I had answers and solutions and peace about all of that. And I can like articulate things now. So that was a weakness of mine that I like, you could ask anybody that was around me during that time. I just, I can speak, but like I could not articulate things very well.
Mm,
I didn't have certain words. Every single sentence for months started with I don't, I can't, I'm not. That's how I started every sentence. And I didn't know how to correct that. Like it was impossible. So imagine what that does to your brain
oh
if
yeah,
you start, I
those
literally,
words.
I don't, I can't, I'm not I'm just this, I'm just that. I can't, I'm not, I don't, over and
It's
over
hard
and
on the
over.
brain and the subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. And so somehow that lifted. So it wasn't anything that I did. So, and then, yeah, I told everybody though. So I used to think those people were weird. There's like, I just got saved or whatever. It's like, well, it wasn't me. So I don't know. I've never, grown up in a church. I've never been one of those people that's like, I'm on fire for God. And I don't even know if I am that way now, but like, I don't I don't care what other people think anymore because now I have a story. So like
Mm,
you can't tell me that mine's not real because you didn't.
yeah.
So you can believe it or not. If you're going through something, maybe it'll help. But if you don't or you don't believe me, I don't really care because it didn't happen to you and it did happen to me. So
It's
and
real
you
to you.
can't
Yeah.
step, yeah, you can't step inside my brain and tell me those things weren't real because they were. Even though, again, to the outside, there nothing was going wrong in my life. Healthy, look okay, I
Yeah.
guess. According to other
Making
people,
enough money. Yeah. Good looking guy.
great,
All the
great.
above. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, and great friends that I built up over time. Great family member, great support network. Which again, I feel for the people that don't have anybody because I can see just by being isolated and not having anybody you can lean on, how that could like realistically and quickly escalate to like you know, yeah, you're gonna take yourself out. I
Going to
could totally
heaven. Yeah, for
totally see
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Because why be here? I could totally identify with that now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, uh oh, and how this all ties in back to like money or whatever. Like thank God for the passive income. Because that really, I mean, if I had all these things going on, but I didn't have any money coming in, that was the only thing that I feel like and again, this is my interpretation of what other people think of me, but I feel like that the money is the only thing that made me normal because they're like, well, you're so jacked up, but at least you got some money, enough money coming in to pay all these things.
And that's what
It's
most
sure,
people focus on. So that's like, oh, you're
well,
fine kind of thing. Yeah.
and they never said that, but that's what I told myself.
Yeah. Okay.
But to be fair, it doesn't hurt,
For sure.
so I would encourage, and again, it's not all about money, but man, understand how it works. And like if you're not crazy or not crazy yet or whatever, haven't gone through anything, do your best to learn about how the monetary system works and just like find something, a way to create multiply money that works for you so that if or when that happens to you, which if you live long enough, you're going to go through some stuff, be working on that foundation for yourself so that when those storms come, you have a little savings or cash flow, or be like Joseph in the Bible. There's going to be every part of your
Course.
life is
Yeah.
a season. There's going to be ups and downs, years of plenty, years of famine. So the years of famine can be a lot less painful if you've been saving up some of that cash that you've been blessed with in the years of plenty. So yeah, and then let's see. So yeah, that's very important, and I would encourage you to do that. And then I think we were talking about this before the call. I don't know how you I don't know how you can get the mental strength before you get like uh before you get the money mastered. I think you're going to have to figure out the money, and then you're going to be challenged on how to manage that money. And that's going to really probably going to mess you up in some ways. It's just that I don't think a lot of people talk about it
Hmm.
because nothing that can prepare you for that, really, other than you got to experience it. And then, so I would say embrace that, know that that's something that's probably going to come, especially if you're like a dude, especially if you're a dude with a spouse or whatever, you want to be married and want to have kids or whatever. Like, there's going to be some mental, spiritual challenges, and know that that's probably going to come. Um, those and that may look differently for you, but it's gonna come. And just be aware of that and that embrace it. And so I would just focus on what you can and control in the moment. So, surround yourself with good people that are what you where you could see yourself in the next couple of years. Try to mimic what they're doing. Get yourself to a decent place financially, learn as much as you can, and then just know that those internal battles are going to come. And at least the passive income, if you have it in place, can help buy you some time, and not only time to sort things out, but it can afford you the resources to explore some things that you might not try if you were broke. So like maybe it does involve some sort of pills, whether they're prescription or not prescription. Maybe it does involve going to a conference or a retreat or a regular psychologist just to talk through some of these things. That all requires money. And sure, there are resources out there to help with that if you need financial assistance, but like, it's better, in my opinion, if you don't have to figure out what those are. You just,
Yeah.
it's going to be challenging enough to go through those seasons, and just to know that you've got either the money or at least the credit available on a credit card or something to just take some shots, some different chances, because you're probably not going to get it right on the first try. Especially with like therapists, you may have to go through two or three to find one that clicks for you. So like, it's a journey and it's going to be tough, but like, again, money's not everything, but it sure helps. And it sure helps make those painful seasons and challenging seasons a lot less painful when it's like, well, I feel like crap today, but at least I can maybe go for a walk because I don't have to go to a 9 to 5 and like hold my bleep together and not kill somebody at this job because I'm just going through stuff, and I'm just gonna try not to kill somebody today. And then like I have money in the bank to where I can go take myself out to a nice restaurant just to kind of, you know,
Hmm.
reframe my situation a little bit, something to be
Yeah.
proud of, change my state, like Tony Robbins says, like
Yep.
change the positive state, even if
Get
it's
that
just a,
dancing going or whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, music, go to a concert or something, just you have the means. And yeah, it's gonna be a battle, but at least, I mean, and don't isolate, like talk to people. Um, so you don't always have to pay somebody, but like, surround yourself, look for resources for people that you can talk to that'll listen and stuff. And they don't really have to tell you anything. You probably not don't want any advice at that time. You just need to talk it
Share
out.
and speak. Yeah.
Especially if you're a dude. Girls share stuff all the time. We keep bottle things up and keep it on the inside. We need to talk too. It's just that we're not like culturally or whatever in this society. I don't know. I feel like we're kind of shamed, and men are kind of shamed and guilted into like, well, you just figure it out.
It should
Just
be
figure it
fine.
out.
You're good. Man up, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, man up. It's all on you, and that's not a big deal, right? I mean, because I was thought a lot about this, and it's like, children can lean on their moms, the wife, spouse can lean on their husband. Who does the man lean on? If we're
Yeah.
told that we
It's just their
can't
brain
talk,
that they've got. Yeah.
right, is that like you better have a connection with God because
Hmm.
it's all on you. And especially if you feel this way, which is this is not true, but if you feel that you can't talk to the men, whether they have a certificate or not, which you're not a licensed psychologist, but like this is therapy.
Yep.
Just talking. This is therapy because my $100, $200 an hour psychologist, all she did was listen for an hour. Like, I mean, she did other things, but like I wasn't able to receive that. So
Hmm.
the thing I got from her was like, well, at least you'll listen. You better listen because I'm paying you. You know, like, but
Yeah.
that's what she's there for. Like, she got a degree to listen to people.
Yep.
You don't get a degree for that. And so, but anyway, yeah, yeah, true. I don't know if there's a way to like, well, you're gonna have to go through this stuff, I feel, if you live long enough. And I don't know how to like for you to get there, get through it
Like
first.
prepare you. Yeah. It's like hard.
But
How
I
do you
think,
prepare?
but I think in order to accelerate this so that you can get to it so that you can get through it faster, I would just do your best to focus on the things you can control, which is like work, take action, start working towards, yeah, I don't want to say find your passion, but find that thing that you can do that can produce profits, that can, you know, provide for yourself. And then I think the tests and lessons will come. The little dark seasons, you're going to start questioning everything because you're going to start seeing the world a little bit differently when your life is the opposite of everything you've been told and sold. And so you're gonna have to figure out what to do with that information. And yeah, there's a lot of things you're gonna have to overcome because like I thought that therapy was for crazy people. When it turns out it's actually just like a healthy habit
Yep.
to build into your maybe monthly budget of like, yeah, I just need to talk to someone once a month, like about some stuff that's going down. And
Yep.
maybe I don't want to dump this on my friends. So maybe I should have a dedicated person in my life for this. So that my spouse doesn't get it, so my kids don't get it, and so my good friends, we can just keep it cool between us. Like so yeah, focus on the I was like, focus on the money, but like focus on that so that you can. I think getting that sooner is going to help accelerate this process. Not that I want you to go through it, but or be in it, but I want you to go through it so you can overcome it, so you can be that better person on the other side. So, and I don't know of a way of doing that by just reading a book. It's like
Yep.
in order to get muscles at the gym, even if you take steroids, you're going to have to feel some
You
pain.
got to work. Yep. You're going to feel some pain. Yep.
You don't just take steroids, I don't think, and then you just wake up the next morning
Yeah.
like the whole. You have to go to the gym. You're gonna have to go through some pain. It's just like but what steroids are going to do its job, but you're going to have to put in your effort as well.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, you do what you got to do, and like whatever the universe will do the rest, and it's gonna, but it's not for your, you know, kind of say biblically or whatever. It's like it's not, it's for your benefit. You know, all things work together for good, even though it may
Suffering
not.
produces character. Yep. Exactly.
It sucks. It's kind of jacked up how the universe works, but you can't grow without tension and resistance and stuff. When things like people, you know, marketers say this too. It's like you never learn anything when you win,
Yep.
really.
So
Um,
true.
you only learn when you lose, and then so I mean it's cool to the other people that see the wins. They're like, oh, you're so rich, and you're like, yeah, but like it was easy. Like I mean, it was hard, and then like it just happened, and then you're like, I didn't, it didn't work when it was working. It was I just kept. I mean, things are just run on their own, you know, at that point.
Yep.
And
I started doing jujitsu and man, like the first year was just suffering every day. These guys were just having a grand old time choking me out, getting me in arm bars. I'm just like, dude, this sucks. Like every day going there every day was like the hardest thing of my life. But man, like 2 years into it, like now I'm choking the new people out and I'm able to do that. I feel this confident. And it seems like you said, like that's really truly the only way to grow is literally it sucked. Like literally the first 6 months. I remember being in the parking lot and just being like, dude, do I really want to just get freaking choked out and like sweat and just like hate my life like in this session right now? I was like, all right, I know it's gonna pay off at some point. Every day. I went like 4 or 5 days a week for 6 months and I was like, okay, now I'm not actually dying every time. Like
I forget where I heard this from, but on that note, there's maybe it could have been Alex Hormozy, I don't know, but he said like, like treat your life like a video game, and you just want to like acquire all the as many skills as you can just to make it to where you're harder and harder to kill. And
I
so
love that.
whether that's money or getting muscles or getting a gun and learn how to shoot it, like just
Yep.
this is the game of life. It's real, and just level up, like I mean, we got nothing but time, so just might as well make the most of it.
Amen.
So
Yeah, no, that's really good stuff. I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. My brother struggles with schizophrenia and bipolar, and he's been in those facilities, and he's told me a lot of those experiences, and just so cool to see the Lord find you in that place. Because I feel like most of us need to be broken in that place to like desire a savior and want a savior. And it's crazy how, I mean, we as Christians, we have our flesh, we have the world, and we have Satan, and we have these spiritual forces against us, and that's the reality of it. And so it sounds like kind of that experience. There's a book that I just got. It's called Mental Illness is a Myth, and it's this psychiatrist who, and I think you get a kick out of it. It's a really good read, and it just talks about really it being the spiritual realm, and most people saying it's like a disease and it's this and it's that, and it's like no, it really comes down to the spiritual realm.
I think so. I mean, I can't speak. I'm writing that down now. I'm writing that. I can't speak to the people like your brother and stuff they may have something in there that like I'm not a doctor, so maybe there is
Yeah,
something. Um, I don't
like the
know. That's
chemical balance, off balance, and different things like
yeah.
that, and circuitry and the neural pathways or things like that could be. Yeah.
Right, but I know from my own experience, and it's just a kind of a guess based on my own experience. It's like the things like depression, where like if you weren't born with it and now you developed it, it a pill's not going to change that. Pills just suppress the feelings and numb you so that you don't feel anything.
Yep.
So it doesn't heal anything.
Yep.
It just helps you get through life, and the pharmaceutical industry is a business, so like if they can get you on subscription as long as possible and tell you there's no cure, well, does that help you or them?
Yep.
you
That's a
know
great business model for them. Yep. Exactly.
yeah, so but and again, I'm not a spiritual whatever savant or whatever. I can't see into your soul and say this is the problem. But again, just what I went through, I know that it's spiritual. And when you figure out how to address that for yourself, all these other things will heal themselves. And so again, it's like some of these phrases from the verses in the Bible make a little sense, more sense now. Of like, I'm a new creation. I'm changed from the inside out, and they talk about some of these things at little spiritual events that are not, whatever Bible Christian related to. But it never, again, those were just like far out topics and stuff until it isn't anymore. And so
Hmm.
I'm here to tell people that maybe were in the same place as me, that those things are real. But you just may not have experienced them yet, but they're 1 billion% real.
Yep.
Um, and you will know it when you experience it. And like I guess unless you have some closing thoughts, I'll kind of wrap up by saying this, like uh, like it was said earlier, I grew up in the church, and so I thought I was like a really good person and stuff, and tried to like not do bad things, and was pretty successful at that. So pretty decent person my whole life, but never really had a relationship with God, and now I feel like I do. And I used to wonder, well, how do you like quantify that? How can you measure that? Because I can't see a relationship. And for anybody that's kind of stuck or wondering about that, all I can say is like, so previously I guess I didn't have a relationship with God because I was uncertain. Now I have that peace that surpasses all understanding. So I know what that statement feels like now. And when you when you do have a relationship with God, you'll know. Like, so all I can say is like you won't be uncertain. You will know.
Yep.
So, and I can't give that. I can't grant that or wave a magic wand, be like, poof, now you have a relationship. Like, but when you have one, you will know. And that you there may be trials or something. They're like, man, this sucks today. Like, why did this have to happen? But it doesn't make me question my, like, I mean, want to call it relationship. Like from that moment, that night that I got out of the little behavioral health center, what it felt like um, was when all that stuff lifted. It was, and I'm a kind of visual illustration kind of guy, so this is the only
Hmm.
way I think to explain this. Um, but it was almost like, I guess God tuned me into his frequency, and it was like bing, and it was almost like a chord from me to whatever the sky, heaven, whatever's up there. But it was almost like I'm just like tuned into his radio frequency or whatever, and I'm just like, cool, I got the connection now.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know what I was before anymore, but like I know I'm tuned in now, so I'm just kind of always on. um, and there was a period of time, I think a week or so later, where it turned off, but thank God it only turned off for like a couple of hours. And I was like, man, this sucks because I'm completely lost. I feel disconnected. And luckily it turned back on the next day. And I've never felt disconnected since. So I don't know what the frequency is, but whatever God is, I'm aligned with that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, just things, doors just open every day. And I just say yes recently to a lot of them. And it's just crazy. Yeah, just blessings on top of blessings. And it's just like super, super abundance. And so it's so much that I give stuff away, I share stuff, like I can't grab it all. And so I don't see scarcity anymore. Like I don't subscribe to that. I like it's literally all around you. It's just whether or not you're, I guess, tuned into that frequency and see. Cause I don't know how to unsee it anymore. Because like I just see opportunities all around me where uh, I guess maybe I didn't, or I just saw challenges where it's like, man, there's so much opportunity. I can't get it all. So
Mm,
leave a lot of it for other people that I guess and maybe they don't see it. So it just doesn't get done.
yeah.
But I can't do, we're like a infinite being living in a finite body. So it's a little frustrating by our limitations. There aren't any limitations on our mind or our spirit, but like, you know, there's only so much. If money is infinite, you can't squeeze infinity into a finite space. Like
Exactly.
it's so you'll never get all the money because it's unlimited. But
Yep.
there's a bit for you to get as much as you want or need to do whatever you're here to do. So that's cool. And there's enough for the next person too. So
Amen.
I like whatever. I'm talking a lot, but I'll leave you with this. So like there's two different pies, one I think is scarcity, one's infinity. There's the pie chart, where we have like 100% is the circle. And if you chop out a little corner, maybe there's only 80% left because Billy took 10% of it or something, so you got 90% left for the other people. Oops. It's so scarce, but then there's pi that we learned about in high school and math about like 3.14 just keeps going on and on and on and on infinity. That's like in my experience like the pi of the universe. Like it's just infinite. There,
Yeah.
there are no limits. There's no scarcity. Call me crazy, but I don't even think there's really that many endangered animals, but they tell us there are. And like, have the humans been everywhere on Earth all at once? I don't think so. I mean, call me crazy, but I
Yeah.
don't think some of these animals are as extinct as they tell us they are. Like I don't know. There's probably just one hiding out there that like it's just there's no people over there, so they don't know that extremely rare animal is over there. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it is. It's like maybe those little or aborigine, whatever they call, like the natives, maybe they don't have cameras, so maybe it is still alive.
It could be. Yeah.
Maybe there's a dinosaur somewhere that we haven't seen. I don't know. Like I just we live in such a world of abundance that just like, we haven't run out of water yet. I don't know how that works. We haven't run out of food, even though they say, and we're destroying all these rainforests and stuff, but I mean, we still have, I mean, look around, like you live close to a big city. I'm
Hmm.
in Austin. They're always building new buildings. Where
Yep.
do all the new materials come
Endless.
in?
Yeah.
Buildings, 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 buildings. Where's all these resources coming from? They just keep coming. It's like
Hmm.
and we're running out of what? Like, have you seen all the food in the grocery stores? Like,
Yeah.
am I crazy? Like, I don't seem to be running out of anything. But that's what they tell us.
Yep. No, it's so true. I just went to a discipleship Bible study, and just like you said, that Holy Spirit just within you that you've had, this discipleship Bible training was just amazing. He was just he told a story, many stories of like people being healed and people literally dying, and people praying over him and coming back to life. And like you said, there's just so much abundance in this physical world, like you say, but there's in that spiritual realm too. There's so much that the Lord still have. Like we see it in the Bible, people healing from the sick and all these things, but like nobody talks about it here and here. But in Uganda and all these different places of the world where people have just insane, in Ethiopia, and where they have severe, like insane faith, where he actually went on like a 17-week trip and he's telling all these incredible stories. And it's just like the Lord is moving, but it's just so hard to see here in the United States because we're literally like, I mean, everybody can live because we have so many options, and it's like people, there's so much money and so much of this, so nobody sees that they need a savior. And so yeah, no, that's really good stuff, and we could go on for days.
Yeah, it's already been 2 hours. See how time gets away?
Maybe
Like,
we'll do a round two. Yeah, it just goes.
yeah. Yeah, but I think there was some good stuff. I'm glad this was recorded. So I hope that people got a lot out of this, depending on, where they are in their journey, because some things are going to land, some things probably will not because it's
Yeah,
not relevant to them
and maybe
yet.
listen to it later, like you said, 6 months later, a year later, maybe it will. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all real stuff, and it's not as weird as you might think when you get a chance to go through it, and you're like, oh, it's not as crazy and far out there as I thought, because now I'm going through it and now I can relate. So these are all real things, and you live long enough, and I feel like you're going to get a taste of it, at least some of it, because I don't think you can go through this whole life and
Somehow
avoid.
avoid any of that.
Yeah, I was surprised myself at how I have been able. God, I feel like God's had a bubble over my life for so long, and I'm like, wow, 30 something years, and like only now, because like yeah, He protected me for a long time, and then it was almost like that shield just evaporated, and it was like all the demonic forces just rain down, and that's not cool. Especially when no one else can see it, so they think you're crazy,
Yes.
or you feel that you're crazy, and like and you can't see it either, but you can feel it, and you're like, this is not me, and
Yep.
I don't even know what triggered it, but you're clearly being like attacked. Um, it's bad,
That's real bad.
but don't give up. Take it one day at a time, and talk to people. Don't isolate. Um, and just do the best you can. Like at my worst, the advice people were giving me was just, yeah, one day at a time, um, and just do what you can do. So like, if you can lay that foundation of passive income or semi-passive income for yourself, great. Because at my worst, like, I would basically just lay in bed all day, or it was a struggle just to walk outside, eat some food, and take a shower and then rest. Like that's all I could do for months. And it
Yeah,
sounds pitiful, and it is, but
that's
like,
reality.
yeah, that was where I was. It was just like, well, no one else has these answers, and for whatever reason, it's not clicking for me. But and this is another thing I'll give to the men watching too. So passive income, while it's a good goal to shoot for, it's not the it's not the end goal. Like, so whether you see that passive income or retirement or however you see it, that you got to keep working. You got to keep busy and active, because if you do nothing or not much, or um, lounge around all day and just watch movies or play video games and eat whatever restaurant you want, you're going to feel so purposeless, and it's going to start the depression, and then you're going to eventually, if you keep that pattern up, you're going to want to kill yourself because you don't have any purpose.
Yep.
And so just stay active. I mean, you might have to get like me, just to, like I did, to balance things out. Go get you a dinky little job. It was a ego,
Killer. Oh,
whatever
I'm sure. Yeah, that was hard on the
killer.
ego.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd never worked in a restaurant. I was still making all this money, and I so there's a lot of limiting beliefs there. It's like they're not going to hire me. Uh, I've done all these other things, and they're paying me $10 an hour. That's beneath me especially at this point in my life. Turns out, again, everybody's in a different place, because like there's a lot of college students that work there part-time, but there's some people there's one lady there who had been working there for 30 years at this restaurant, and she was making just a little bit more than me probably,
Yeah.
but not much. Um, and there's other people there that actually like their job. So what I saw is like a crappy job. They're like, man, I love coming to work every day. I love this job so much. And like, man, that's a
Wow.
reality shift there. It's like,
Yeah. You're like, dude, you're making $10 an hour. Are you serious? You could really like enjoy that? Like that's
I
from your
know, and they're
perspective.
big
Yeah.
excited because they're like, man, just a couple more months, they're going to bump it up to 11. I'm like, wow, $11 after taxes. That's still not much.
Yeah.
Like, that's horrible. And you're excited. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like, congratulations, you're
Wow.
still poor. you know,
Wow.
but so, it kind of, I was like, wow, you can choose to be happy. I had no
Mm,
idea how these people are making it here, how do they even get an apartment? They can't afford it, I don't
yeah.
think. I can't. How do they even qualify?
Yeah.
I don't know. But there's loopholes to everything. There's different layers of our society, and I learned a little bit about that, because I was like, yeah, how do they get cell phones? Because I pay this much. Well, they have other methods of getting cell phones. So they go to like
Hmm.
the dollar store and get it for $50 and then get a prepaid card. I'm like, oh, again, limiting beliefs in my world, because I'm like, well, it's not AT&T, and they're like, yeah, but it's the same signal.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
can
like,
get on the internet too. I can text and call too. Yeah.
yeah, and they didn't spend $900 for an iPhone, but
Yeah.
it is a smartphone. It can access the internet. They can text, talk, data. I'm like, wow, I'm such an idiot, like for and just whatever you call, yeah, ignorant. It's just like, because I'm only setting my one way of doing things, which is like the only way I knew how to do it. But they had another solution to do the same thing, but in their own little way. So
We don't know what we don't know, like we said. Yeah, that's exactly right.
yeah.
I love it. This is an awesome conversation. I really appreciate your time, Greg, and I'm sure maybe we'll do a round two sometime, but I appreciate your time so much. And this was phenomenal. It was really cool to dive into your entrepreneur journey, the money and diving into the mental and spiritual aspect of it all. And thanks so much for being here and have a wonderful day, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.